20 times. 20 times. It's like 28 women now. Want to be here? We help.
Protesters are gathered in Florin, a Meadowview area of South Sacramento.
Our streets!
It's 11 o'clock right now, and the protests are currently still going on.
Greetings, YouTube. This is the Garage Autonomist. On March 12th in Elgin, Illinois, police officers encountered a woman believed suicidal and armed with a steak knife in her car on the side of Interstate 90. It was over an hour of her refusing to get out of her car, setting something on fire and throwing it into the back seat, that the police were done and ready to take her life after she finally emerged from the car. And that is when cops, being cops, doing only what they know how during encounters with people of color and emotionally disturbed people, obliged Miss Cynthia Clemens' original threat to take her life by taking hers. As it turned out, smoke filled the car. Police moved towards it to force her out, but she opened the door, choking on the smoke, and got out of the car. 3 gunshots were fired. Police said she had a knife in her left hand, but that is not clear in the video from the dash cams. Fast forward to Sunday, March 18th. A 22-year-old Sacramento man named Stephon Clark was murdered in his own backyard by police whilst holding a cell phone. According to the press release of the Sacramento PD, a helicopter tracking a suspect directed the officers to Clark, who ran towards the house after being confronted by officers. They gave chase where he at some point turned in the backyard, and because, wait for it, the Supreme Court sanctioned code phrase that justifies all cop murders, they feared for their safety, they released 20 rounds into Stephon Clark. The object feared by the police, of course, was a cell phone. We will, of course, hear all the events leading up to Stephon's death along with his criminal past, as if his domestic violence charges or past robberies have anything to do with him being shot in his grandma's backyard. Because unless he was a threat to the police on a crime scene, none of that matters. There are hours of dash cams and videotape of non-black and non-Latino crime suspects making threats to police, resisting arrest, and less than likely those encounters wind up deadly. The Supreme Court's Graham versus Connor 1989 decision argued that the issue was whether the officers are objectively reasonable in light of the facts and circumstances confronting them without regard to their underlying intent or motivation. The reasonableness, quote unquote, of a particular use of force must be judged from the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene, and its calculus must embody an allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split decisions about the amount of force necessary in a particular situation. Chief Rehnquist rejected the idea that courts should evaluate actions based on the 2020 vision of hindsight. According to Rehnquist, the Fourth Amendment inquiry is one of the objective reasonableness under the circumstances, and subjective concepts like malice and sadism have no proper place in that inquiry. In other words, Rehnquist believed that if a police officer reasonably felt threatened by someone, no matter what the actual details of the incident, he or she had the right to employ whatever force they felt was necessary, even lethal force to protect themselves and others. Links are in the low bar regarding the details of the Graham and O'Connor, the Graham versus Connor case, and the article that draws the conclusion that the decision is indeed the root reason why use of force of police will never be questioned and why cops won't be brought to justice. However, they can be if we continue to not be silent and interrupt business as usual to gain attention to our lack of rights in the face of agents of injustice. If we want a society that does not allow the cops to have the right to kill in any way they see fit in any given situation, we have to have a just society that will disarm and disband them and punish them as we would anyone else. This is the Garage Autonomist.